So, folks, it's here. It's debate time. Folks, we're watching the final New York City primary debate, which is really, for all intents and purposes, where the next governor, the next mayor of New York City is going to be decided. Very exciting. Andrew Cuomo is in attendance. Zoran Mamdani is in attendance. We got the two powerhouses here, and it's going to be really interesting.
Giuliani a fourth term. Maybe fourth time is the charm.
We can't. He's continued melting into a puddle of goo. Thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs, Sake Tanuki. And folks, before we launch into this, I have a very exciting piece of news that will color how we watch this debate. Earlier today, a new poll came out that shows Zoran Mamdani about 4 points ahead of Andrew Cuomo prior to the ranked choice voting being implemented. This poll was not about how it looks at the end of the ranked choice process. It was just about Zoran Mamdani or Andrew Cuomo. And I gotta tell you guys, that is only slightly within the poll's margin of error of 4.2%. So we are literally, Zoran Mamdani has overtaken Andrew Cuomo according to this poll. Previous polling from yesterday, which is, by the time a campaign releases it, several days old, had him down by 2. Now he's up by 4, and we still have maybe a week, maybe week and a half until the election. It's very, very, very exciting. Don't be complacent. If you are in NYC, knock on some doors for Zoran Mamdani, okay? Do some phone banking for Zoran Mamdani. You can go to his website and volunteer to phone bank. Everyone should do that. If you have time, do that, okay? Let's dive in, shall we? Because I think knowing that Zoran is on the verge of decisively overtaking Cuomo, that's exciting, and it's going to color how we see this debate. Let's take a look.
Good evening. Welcome to the final Democratic primary debate in the race for mayor of New York City. I'm Errol Lewis, political anchor for Spectrum News New York 1, and we're coming to you from the Gerald W. Lynch Theater at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, located on the west side of Manhattan. I'm joined by Brian Lehrer of WNYC Gothamist and Katie Honan of the news organization The City. The candidates have been making their pitches to New Yorkers for months now, and we are only hours away from the start of early voting across the 5 boroughs, starting on Saturday.
Over the next 2 hours, you're going to hear from the 7 leading Democratic candidates on their proposals on issues directly affecting the lives of New Yorkers.
I'm struggling to find my 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Selner looks like bring your kid to work day. Adams is deer in headlights. Stringer is probably a Zionist.
I'm not in NYC, but I'm very excited for Zoran, mostly non-sexually.
Yeah, I just realized I was muted. Sake Tanuki, I was just saying, I imagine Brad Lander's your number 2 guy. I don't know that there's any reason to rank anybody else. Xendu, thank you for the $10 dono. And honestly, it's okay to be excited for Zoran, even if you're not in New York City. I'm very excited. I'm in the Midwest. And I'm excited because being the mayor of New York City is a launching point for bigger, better things. It is something that, if you do a good job at being the mayor of New York City, you have a decent chance to be able to step up into, politics in Congress or even the presidency. It's really, really important. And honestly, it sets the tenor for a lot of other towns, cities, etc. across America. I'm very excited about it.
Mayoralty is currently held by Eric Adams, who has withdrawn from the Democratic primary and is running in the November general election as an independent candidate. Tonight's debate is brought to you by the New York City Campaign Finance Board, the city agency that administers the Public Matching Funds program. It's also sponsored by Spectrum News New York 1, WNYC Gothamist, and The City, and Spectrum Noticias. And our co-sponsors are John Jay College of Criminal Justice, the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at CUNY.
And I do think that there are some things he's unilaterally able to do, like the rent-free as cattail. So, I think he can meaningfully impact policy in a way that would help a lot of people in New York City. And I'm really excited to see if he does it. Free public transit in New York City would be a game changer.
The Center for New York City and State Law at New York Law School, and the Museum of the City of New York. And you can watch.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not saying Mamdani is eligible to be president. I'm saying that Mamdani could go on to Congress, and that the mayoral spot in New York City can often be used as a launching point to things like Congress or the presidency.
Watch tonight's debate without a paywall on ny1.com. It's also being broadcast on NYC TV, WNYC Radio, the Spectrum News YouTube page, and C-SPAN, and in Spanish.
Yeah, the audio is desynced on my end too. We all have to deal with our the pangs and arrows of outrageous fortune.
Spectrum Noticias and YouTube.
The candidates joining us tonight have met a polling or fundraising threshold established by the Campaign Finance Board in order to take part in the debate. In alphabetical order, Adrienne Adams is the City Council Speaker representing parts of Southeast Queens. Andrew Cuomo previously served as governor of the state of New York. Brad Lander is the New York City Comptroller. Zohran Mamdani is a state assembly member representing parts of Queens. Zelnor Myrie is a state senator representing parts of Brooklyn.
Man, the audio is scuffed to hell.
Scott Stringer is a former city comptroller and Manhattan borough president. And Whitney Tilson is a former hedge fund manager who helped create Teach for America.
Boo
Now
this
for
man.
The rules.
Boo.
The rules that you see on your screen right now have been agreed to by all of the candidates. Each candidate will deliver an opening statement of up to 45 seconds. Answers to our questions will generally be limited to 60 seconds, with a chance for rebuttals at the discretion of the moderator. And candidates will have an opportunity to ask one opponent one question during our cross-examination round. We're going to begin with opening statements. The order was determined by a random drawing this morning, and so we'll begin with Scott Stringer. Good evening.
Well, good evening. Look, I love New York City. I was born and raised here, and I believe the future of this city can be limitless. But let's face it, people are feeling that it's getting tougher to live here. People who built our neighborhoods are leaving the city. Young people who want to lay down roots here do not see enough opportunity. I say enough is enough. We need a mayor who has experience. We need a mayor who has competence, and a mayor who has a vision to build affordable housing, to enact universal child care, to build a public school system so that kids can thrive. I've seen the best of this city in every neighborhood as controller, as a borough president, as a state legislator. And I know that right now at this moment, we need somebody who has the ability to make sure this city can rise again, and I'm going to do it.
Okay, next is Zelnor Myrie.
This morning, I was on Flatbush Avenue getting my hair cut so I could be fresh for this debate. And one of my constituents walked in and didn't talk to me about politics. She said, "What are you going to do to fight for immigrants like me and my husband?"
That's politics. Wait, what? Someone came in and didn't ask any politics, but asked me politics. What? Okay, all right. Jesus. Fighting for immigrants is politics. Exactly. I don't like these people that pretend politics is like some secret third thing, you know? Also, like, you gotta offer more than, hey, have you ever thought about what if things could just be better? You have to have actual concrete policy that gets you there.
I got on the train as I left and I ran into a mother who said, "What are you going to do to fight to help make our schools world class?" So here's the thing. You're going to hear a lot of promises, a lot of nice and cute things on the stage tonight. But when you put your head to the pillow, you want a mayor that is going to fight to keep your family safe, fight to keep that roof over your head, and fight to give you opportunity. I know that because that's what I think about every single day. And I'm ready to put the gloves on as the next mayor to fight to make that a reality.
Okay, but what did you tell that mother who was asking about if you're going to fight for immigrant rights? You didn't finish that story.
Thank you. Next candidate is Whitney Tilson.
Good evening. I'm Whitney Tilson, and I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman and philanthropist.
Boo!
And I entered this race because I love this city, but right now it's a mess. It's not talent that we lack. We've got the best and brightest, nor money. We spend double that of any other city in the world. It's leadership, and we can't afford amateur hour in City Hall anymore. It is rightly said that being job of mayor of this complex, enormous city is the second hardest job in the world. That's why we need a mayor who's experienced, competent, and can get things done.
They're all hitting this experienced bell over and over and over again because I think this is the debate where they take out the knives for Zoran. I think this is going to be a much harder debate than last time, because last time the knives were out for Cuomo. Now I think they might be out for Cuomo and Zoran Mamdani. They're all talking about experience, and that is something that at least their consultants have told them that resonates with the public when it comes to Zoran Mamdani.
Not a social media phenom with cute videos. Someone who can balance the budget and make tough choices, not pie-in-the-sky promises that...
You're right. His videos are pretty great. Zoran Mamdani is good at social media. You're right. And he also has plans to back up those cute videos.
There's no realistic plan to pay for, and someone who will keep us safe by ending chaos, not inciting it, by supporting law enforcement, and by not threatening to defund and dismantle our police.
I love that this guy's just like, what if I did good things, unlike that other guy who wants to do even better things? What if I doubled down on all of the worst parts of our current administration and just paid lip service to improving things? Would you like that?
I will be that mayor, and so I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Okay, our next candidate is Adrienne Adams.
Thank you very much. My name is Adrienne Adams, and I'm running for mayor because I'm an everyday New Yorker, just like all of you are. When I open my front door, I see what every New Yorker sees, and that is...
Okay, I'm just a real question. I'm not an expert when it comes to jewelry. Do you guys think that that's costume jewelry around her neck? Or do you think it's like real gems? Yes, costume jewelry. Yes, costume jewelry. I don't know. Okay. I just wanted to like take the tenor of the room. I like to imagine it's $12 million in real diamonds, right? So like my only thing is, regardless of whether it's costume or not, you might want to like tone down your costume jewelry for the debate where you're trying to argue I'm just like all of you. You know, I like the way it looks. I'm just saying, like, you know, if you're wearing costume jewelry and saying like I'm just like all of you, but like, I don't know, it looks fancy. That's all I'm saying.
As we are in need of a change, I raised 4 children in Southeast Queens in the same home.
Nah, costume jewelry is fun as hell.
That we live in. I buy my own groceries, so I know the costs of groceries for everyday New Yorkers. Look, as the leader of the city council leading the most diverse...
At her feet is a pirate's chest spilling over with gold coins and rubies and chalices and stuff. Yeah, she's actually the spirit of that pirate gold come to life.
City council in the history...
It took a lot of political training not to say, yo ho, me hearties and shiver me timbers. It is I, Adrienne Adams, here to run for mayor of New York City. Arr!
Led by a women majority, I realize what leadership truly is. I'm already doing the job. I have successfully negotiated 3 city budgets. I'm now in the middle of negotiating my 4th city budget. I continue to lead and step in where our current mayor has not, where we have fought through the city council budget cuts. We have saved public libraries and pre-K. I'm Adrienne Adams, already doing the job, asking you to rank me number 1 to be the first woman mayor of the city of New York.
I mean, I think she's fine. She is aggressively fine. But I think when push comes to shove, I think she's going to throw in her lot with Cuomo. And I don't know. Now's not the time for that.
Next candidate is Brad Lander.
If you watched last week's debate, you already know I'm not the flashiest candidate in this race. I don't have a famous father. I'm not the best at TikTok. My daughter's here. All her videos do better than mine. But I love this city. I
wish
believe in
somebody
its
would shiver
future,
me
and I
timbers
know how to make
or plunder
government
my booty. UWU. I mean BWA.
Very knifey deck. Thank you for the $5 dono.
work better. As controller, I've saved taxpayers over $2 billion, canceled corrupt contracts, managed the pension funds to record highs. I've built or saved over 50,000 affordable homes. As mayor, I'll deliver 500,000 more. That's why today the New York Times opinion panel said I'm the best choice for mayor. I've got the public integrity that New Yorkers deserve, the progressive values that New Yorkers share, and the management chops to deliver on them.
Next is Zoran Mamdani.
My name is Assemblymember Zoran Mamdani, and I am running to make the city affordable. I'll freeze the rent for millions of tenants, make buses fast and free, and deliver universal childcare. And before you ask, I'll pay for it by taxing the rich. The same billionaires who put Donald Trump back in the White House, the same ones who are funding Andrew Cuomo's campaign. Like many New Yorkers, I wasn't born in this country, but I grew up in this city, and it's one that we're in danger of losing. We're under attack from authoritarianism from the outside and an affordability crisis from the inside. Yet if you turned on your television 20 years ago, you'd have heard the same tired, failed policies you'll hear from politicians tonight. It's time for a new generation of leadership. And that's exactly what my campaign is building. A movement of more than 36,000 volunteers who have knocked on nearly 1 million doors and left us just 2 points away from City Hall.
Let's
so
go.
join us, and let's win a New York you can afford.
Next is Andrew Cuomo.
Good
evening.
Well, okay, wait. Chat, do you think the claps were for Andrew Cuomo, or do you think the clapping was for Zoran Mamdani? Because I think Zoran just absolutely nailed it, guys. Like, he ignored the attacks, and he made his honest pitch, because everyone's going to be paying attention to this debate. So he looks directly into the camera and makes his elevator pitch for what his campaign is, and he absolutely nails it.
And thank you. Points away from City Hall. So join us, and let's win a New York you can afford.
Next is Andrew Cuomo.
Good evening, and thank you all very much for having me here today. I do have a very famous parent who I'm very proud of, Matilda Cuomo, and I hope she's watching. Everyone has a plan, as you've heard. Everyone always has a plan. That's always the way. But the question for tonight is, who has the ability to get the job done? That's really the question. Who can build housing? I built housing across the nation as HUD secretary. I built LaGuardia Airport, Kosciuszko Bridge, 2nd Avenue Subway, and more. Who can do public safety? Well, my colleagues were defunding.
I wonder if anyone's going to ask him about the sexual assaults or sexual harassment he did.
The police, I was adding
allegedly
more police. Who can manage the city? I manage the state that has double the budget of New York City. And who can take on Donald Trump? That is the big question. And
I'm a little sad Paperboy Love Prince didn't make it. Having him on the other side of Cuomo in clown makeup would be the icing on the cake.
God, it would have been very funny. It would have been very funny.
Sent troops into cities all across this country, but he never sent them into New York when I was there, and he never will when I am mayor.
Based on what? By what power would you possibly prevent that?
A job looks easy when you haven't done it. Experience.
Oh, there's a guy running for mayor of New York City named Paperboy Love Prince, and he's very funny.
Experience matters. I will get the job done. I will work for you 24/7.
Thank you for your opening statements, candidates. Mr. Cuomo, many New Yorkers are concerned about what's happening in Los Angeles. Workplace immigration raids and deportations, protests with some violence, the president's deployment of the National Guard and the Marines over the objection of the governor and the mayor. The Trump aide Stephen Miller said the mayor has no say. If you were mayor of New York right now, how would...
Yeah, I think those applause were for Zoran Mamdani. No one else has gotten any applause, and I don't think people were particularly excited about Cuomo.
How would you handle this situation if something like that happened here?
Yeah, we had this situation before, right? This is not a case of first impression. President Trump did this and Trump won. He did it a number of times. He sent troops into cities all across the country. This is him being macho, authoritarianism. He's the commander-in-chief. He never sent them into New York because I said to him, you better never send troops into New York. We don't need them. It would be a hostile act. It would be a problem. Right now, in this situation, we're going to protect our immigrants. This is a...
So your unique thing that you're bringing to the table is you said, no, thank you. Cool.
Sanctuary city, and we are going to defend the laws of the sanctuary city. We have an NYPD that is the largest police force.
I will tell him very sternly that we do not like that. And then he will respect me more than I respected the women working under me.
In the United States of America, Donald Trump only picks fights that he can win. He cannot win a fight with me as mayor of New York.
Mr.
Why?
Mamdani, any contrast?
What a shit answer. Like, I'm sorry. I would love a debate moderator to actually ask some follow-up questions. Like, how are you going to stop him other than by saying that's a bad idea? Because, like, they do bad ideas on a daily basis.
So far?
You know, what is so troubling to see right now is we also have the NYPD assisting ICE in some of those very missions right here in New York City. We saw the Strategic Response Group arrest a pastor who was peacefully observing the arrest of a migrant at Federal Plaza. When I am the mayor, the NYPD will
If
serve
Trump
public...
challenges me, I will ask him if I can shove a pen in his bussy.
My brain short-circuited. Saki Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs.
Public safety of New Yorkers. They will not assist Trump's ICE agents. And furthermore, though Donald Trump may not believe in the law, we have to be clear that we do, and we will in fact bring back our law department to its pre-pandemic staffing levels, 200 additional lawyers, and start to provide lawyers for immigrants who are in deportation cases, because we know that by doing so, we in fact increase their likelihood of coming home to their families in New York City by 11 times. Finally, we can see examples in previous mayoral administrations where the mayor's team, like Steve Banks in the last administration, took every single step they could to ensure that none of the personal information the city had would be turned over to the Trump administration. I would follow that example through all of our agencies.
Thank you. Ms. Adams.
Dude, he's the only one with popular support in the room. That's so cool. That's so cool. Oh my God. Guys, do you have any idea what a boon that is when you are like in a debate and it's being televised? This is probably the only debate that is going to be watched by people in New York extensively, by like normies and such, and they're seeing all of the energy on Mamdani. This is wonderful. All eyes on Mamdani. Let's go, get him in.
Ms. Adams, staying on this topic, but with kind of a follow-up. If the president sees what he thinks is disorder in the streets and believes that local and state law enforcement officials are not doing a good job at protecting citizens and property, why shouldn't he step in? His supporters say that's his responsibility.
We are right now dealing with a lawless president enacting lawless behavior across this entire nation. As one who continues to speak up and out against Donald Trump,
yeah, exactly. Nobody has gotten any reaction at all, and the fact that people are probably, despite warnings to not clap, still clapping only for Mamdani, that sends a message.
Currently, Donald Trump would like to bring ICE back onto Rikers Island, which has been illegal since the year 2014. Through an executive order put forth by the deputy mayor of the city of New York, not the mayor of the city of New York, which is unprecedented. They want to bring ICE back onto Rikers Island, and the person that is endorsing me,
yeah,
she
winners
is the
and
baddest
losers.
AG in the nation. Her name is Tish James. She said, Adrian, if Donald Trump starts to get in your way, sue him. So I am suing him. I am suing the mayoral administration and Donald Trump's ICE. We will continue to protect immigrants when I am mayor, just like I am protecting them as the leader of the city council. We will make...
Saki Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs.
I just feel bad for Mario Cuomo. Imagine having these two gabagools as your legacy despite being pretty based and left-pilled.
I don't know who Mario Cuomo is. I'm not super familiar with the Cuomo clan.
Make sure that Donald Trump's ICE obeys the law. We are a sanctuary city. I am here to protect that in the city council. And when I am mayor, I will continue to protect our laws and our immigrants.
Mr. Lander, continuing on the...
Yeah, Mario Cuomo was like their dad? Man, former NYC mayor and father. Yeah.
Same track, but if the president says the mayor has no say, which seems to be the case because he did deploy the Marines and the National Guard.
Oh my God, we actually get a follow-up question. Let's go.
What would you do? What could you do?
Let me tell you about how the mayor could have a say. Last Thursday and again this morning, I went down to the federal building to observe immigration court and then accompany immigrants out past ICE agents so they could get out of the federal building and back to their families. One was a couple with kids in our city school system. They were worried they weren't going to see them again. So I stand up to bullies. I don't back down from a fight, and I will make clear that we're going to protect the 40% of New Yorkers who are immigrants, and we're going to keep them safe, and we're going to keep New York City safe. You can de-escalate conflict. What Trump wants is to strike fear and escalate conflict. We're going to make clear we stand up for immigrant New Yorkers, and we de-escalate and keep the peace. I do want to tell you, though, about some immigrant New Yorkers that Andrew Cuomo screwed when he was governor, and we're defending in my office.
Yes.
A couple of hundred immigrant
Brad
subway
Lander,
cleaners
get out the
who
knives.
he made clean the subway cars, but cheated out of the prevailing wages and health care that they were due. We're fighting right now to get it back. I stand up to bullies, and I'll stand up to Donald Trump.
Mr. Cuomo, you were named, so we may not be able to do this every time all night, but you were named, so you get a brief response.
I don't know what Mr. Lander is talking about.
Wait, why do some of these people look new from last time? The lighting is different. The lighting's kind of shit in this debate, to be honest. But there are actually fewer people here than last time.
The MTA contracted for cleaning services. I assume that's what he's talking about. The MTA goes through a rigorous contracting process. They should never have hired illegal immigrants if it is true. But obviously, I had nothing to do with them hiring anyone.
I'm sorry, is that what you said? What did you call them?
If anyone was undocumented or they didn't pay the proper wages, I had nothing to do with it. It would have been done through the MTA.
You didn't pay them the proper wages. You cheated them out of the prevailing wages they were due and the health care they were due.
I didn't contract with them at all.
Yo, Brad, get his ass.
Contracted
Who appoints
with
the
them.
chair of the MTA?
Oh, I see. So every contract that the MTA contracts, you want me to be held responsible?
This one, yes, because a couple of hundred immigrant workers got cheated out of $2.5 million and their health care, and the orders came from on high.
Yeah, so you say. If they did it, that would obviously be wrong. The MTA contracts for $6 billion per year.
Why'd I want the ASL interpreter to just do the Jackie Chan confused face meme every time Cuomo speaks?
I think because genuinely that's the amount of respect that he deserves, you know? Saket Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs and for being a huge supporter of this channel. I appreciate it.
Multiple contracts. We have a controller on the state of New York who audits the books. I'm sure he's almost as good as you. And if that happened, he would have found out.
Thankfully, these are prevailing wage workers under city contracts.
But still on President Trump, and Mr. Stringer, you can reply to that if you want. But my moving on question is, his administration has made deep cuts to some programs that directly fund services for New Yorkers. A listener to my radio show asks, how do you propose addressing funding shortfalls for critical services, or which programs will you prioritize above others, assuming you can't make up for all the funding gaps? And please tell everybody how you think your approach would be better than the other candidates.
Sure, Brian. Well, look, I was in Trump 1 when I was a city controller. And during that time period, I didn't let him get this city down. During my time, I managed to divest $4 billion from fossil fuels controller. I divested from gun manufacturers. I divested from private prisons. I put the line in the sand with that guy, and I will do the same as mayor. Look, when you grow up in Washington Heights, everything comes your way. And you understand the only way to deal with as a bully is to draw the line early and fight back. So here's specifically what I'm going to do. First, as mayor, we're going to establish a very, very rainy day fund. We need to get $500 million from the state and $500 million from the city so that we can continue to replenish the money that Donald Trump is taking from us. $80 million was taken in the dead of night. We need to keep the social safety net alive until Hakeem Jeffries becomes the speaker and we can dismantle the Trump organization. Just 2 seconds, just to straighten out the two of them. I was the one who brought the prevailing case with the MTA on those workers, and I believe very strongly then that we have to make sure that we pay wages so people can live and stay in New York, and that's why I did it.
Mr. Myrie, same question about dealing with the defunding of the city.
First let me put my lawyer hat on for a second. What Donald Trump is doing right now is flat out unconstitutional, and we got to say that very clearly, because they are counting on the chaos being normal. They're counting on us being relaxed about this approach because we see it in the headlines every day. It is flat out unconstitutional, and we should not, as a city, hesitate whatsoever to bring it to him when he's coming after our folks in this city. So look, I want to hire 50 more lawyers to our law department so we can go on the offensive. And the best way for us to be independent of the Trump cuts is to expand our tax base. That is why I want to deliver 1 million homes over the next 10 years. It's why I want to extend pre-K and 3K to 6 p.m. It is why I want universal after school for everyone. This has to be a city where you can raise a family, where people can make the choice to stay here, when they can spend their money in our local economy. We can create $18 billion over the next 10 years if we create 1 million homes over the next decade. That is what I plan to do.
Does anyone here stand a good chance of winning, or are they just filler other than Cuomo and Mamdani? They're filler by and large, other than Cuomo and Mamdani. The other candidates here are interesting. I would imagine they're angling to further their career by using this platform to get their name out there, to get more recognition, to build up their bona fides for future endeavors. But by and large, the only two viable candidates on stage right now, as things currently stand, are Mamdani and Cuomo.
And I plan to go on offense every single time this bully comes after my city.
Mr. Tilson.
Oh, okay. Now, okay, the cheers are no longer solely Mamdani's.
Mr. Tilson, you'll get the last word on this. People are talking about standing up to President Trump. Can it ever be smart, in your opinion, to hold your tongue about your worst opinions of him so that New York could possibly get better treatment? Or would that not be effective?
Yes, possibly. There's a grim anniversary coming up on Tuesday. It is the 10-year anniversary of Trump coming down that escalator, spewing hatred and xenophobia. And I've been fighting him tooth and nail every day of those 10 years.
With ranked choice, like everyone has a shot, kind of. But I've seen multiple people now run through the math of how ranked choice would currently go based on
like a Mr.
polling.
Hughes case for a national Dem. He shouldn't run for mayor. He should be in Congress and nitpick the functions and procedures to slow roll everything the GOP does.
I would love it if that's how that generally worked. Like if we got him on the same page to slow roll like the worst excesses of the Trump administration, 10,000% on board with that. My worry is that kind of politician might slow roll progressive legislation. I think that's one of the things we have to be aware of kind of going into this new political season where progressive sentiment is on the rise. And that is that there are certain liberals who are not our friends, who do not want to actually make things all that better for everyone. They just want to return things to a status quo. And I'm a bit worried he might be more of a status quo, do nothing Dem versus someone who actually wants to change the system.
Said.
I did like that answer, though, that he gave just then.
He is a childish bully, and getting into a Twitter war with him needlessly would hurt our city, I think. He tweets a lot of crazy stuff, and most of the time, if you simply ignore it, he moves on to his next childish foolishness. So to your question, I will fight Donald Trump as mayor, stand up to him, sue him if necessary.
I don't see a whole lot of fight in you, bud. I'm sorry. You don't seem like you actually give a shit about any of the things that are happening.
But my job is to serve the people of New York, and that sometimes involves not provoking a childish person, but one who unfortunately holds a lot of power, and our 10% of our city budget is federal funding.
Candidates, thank you for this first round.
Okay, candidates, some of you have many years of government experience.
Yeah, instead it kind of sounds like when you're saying like, well, the federal government does have to hold 10% of the budget of New York City. Like, that sounds like you've already capitulated and you're in a debate right now to run for mayor of the city.
Experience, while others have spent less than a decade in office. One of you has never been elected to any office. So, and then if we consider age, one of you would be, if elected, the oldest person ever to be sworn in as mayor, while another would be the youngest mayor to take office in more than 100 years. So let me start with you, Mr. Mamdani. What do you say to critics who think that a 33-year-old assemblyman who's only been in office 4 years needs more experience before becoming mayor of the largest city in the country?
What I would ask is for them to judge me by the campaign that I am running. A campaign we began with about 2 full-time employees polling at 1% that has now grown to be one where we manage over 36,000 volunteers that have knocked on nearly 1 million doors. And ultimately, what I will deliver to New York City is what I've been delivering in this race: innovation and competence. And I will do so by hiring the best and the brightest. Because for too long, we've had an understanding of leadership where you simply want to replicate each one of your ideas and hire the people who will be quickest to say yes to whatever you say to them. I will instead hire the people who have the track records, the excellence, the fluency. And it has been a pleasure to meet with incredible officials like Maria Torres Springer, like Patrick Gaspard, like Steve Banks, like Amit Baga, so many who have delivered that public service and that public excellence in this city. And that is what I would be doing as the next mayor of this city of New York.
Mr. Myrie, similar question. What would you say to New Yorkers concerned that your legislative record, however lengthy, is not the same as running an organization of 300,000 employees?
Listen, I think New Yorkers want a mayor that is going to deliver results for them and to do it when it is difficult to achieve. I've passed over 60 bills that have become the law. But when I ran for state senate back in 2018, Albany was dysfunctional. Some rogue Democrats, propped up by Andrew Cuomo, prevented so many legislation that would help everyday New Yorkers, whether it was protection for tenants, whether it was reproductive health, whether it was climate legislation, whether it was your right to be safe in your neighborhood. And on day one in the state senate, I passed something called early voting, which all of us are going to participate in on this Saturday. So I am about the results and about the work. I have built coalition. I have listened to stakeholders. I've done really difficult things. That is the job of the mayor, to get everyone at the table and to achieve something that people said was impossible. I've been in the business of delivering for the people of my district. I look forward to doing the same thing for the people of New York City.
Okay. Mr. Cuomo, if elected, you would be the oldest person ever sworn in as mayor. If you served 2 full terms, you'd be 76 years old upon leaving office. Is somebody in their 70s the ideal age for holding the second hardest job in America?
Let's do 1 term at a time if we can. I think you raise a very important point. Experience matters. And I think inexperience is dangerous in this case. Mr. Mamdani has had a staff of 5 people. You're now going to run a staff of 300,000 employees. He's never dealt with the city council. He's never dealt with the Congress. He's never dealt with the state legislature. He's never negotiated with the union. He's never built anything. He's never dealt with a natural emergency. He's never dealt with a hurricane, with a flood, etc. He's never done any of the essentials. And now you have Donald Trump on top of all of that, and he's never dealt with what I think is the greatest national threat that we face in this president. To put a person in this seat at this time with no experience is reckless and dangerous. To Mr. Lander and his experience, remember, this was the fiscal watchdog under the era.
Selner Myrie is so cute. I want to go on a tour of the Natural History Museum with him, rather than have him run the city.
I don't know why it keeps muting me. This guy put like elderly patients with COVID into nursing homes. Like this guy killed arguably thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people by doing that, you know? Like during the pandemic, he made the decision to put people who actively had COVID into nursing homes. The most vulnerable communities to get COVID, he encouraged. Like, you know, it's kind of a meme at this point. Andrew Cuomo kills grandma, but like, he did. And so, I don't know, it's kind of rich that he's arguing from his place of wild, incredible experience. Where did that experience get you? It got you murdering grandmas, you know?
Eric Adams' administration, which was like the bookkeeper at Tammany Hall.
Okay, but rat negative, you have to acknowledge there's a big difference between what's happening now and what was happening in New York during the height of the pandemic, which is when he made that call. There were literally like morgues in the middle of the street. There were fucking hospital tents set up in the parks. Like it's nuts. They had dead bodies decomposing in like trucks. It was nuts. It was crazy. And he's the guy who did that. I'm not saying like, oh man, public health is perfect now. I'm not. But like, understand the basic principle of what I'm saying. In a moment of crisis, Andrew Cuomo failed the city of New York to a degree incomprehensible. And frankly, the fact that he's even on stage now to try and take a second bite of the apple is insane.
Mr. Mamdani.
To Mr. Cuomo, I have never had to resign in disgrace. I have never cut Medicaid. I have never stolen hundreds of millions of dollars from the MTA. I have never hounded the 13 women who credibly accused me of sexual harassment. I have never sued for their gynecological records, and I have never done those things because I am not you, Mr. Cuomo. And furthermore, the name is Mamdani, M-A-M-D-A-N-I. You should learn how to say it because we got to get it right.
Yeah.
God damn!
My response, or is this my 60 seconds on the question?
Let Mr. Landers speak, and then you can respond.
What an incredible response. Put him 6 feet under. Yo, building a cement foundation on this bitch. Forget giving him cement shoes. We gave him a whole cement house.
Respond to both. Okay.
Just to be clear, is this my response to Andrew, or is this my 60 seconds?
No.
I just you know, it's Mamdani, M-A-M, like it literally spells it out for him. Get used to it, because we're all gonna need to know it soon. Hey, let's go! The confidence, the charisma projection.
Don't undersell him. Andrew Cuomo failed the city in moments of non-crisis too.
Well, yes,
IDC.
Very true. Very true, Sake Tanuki. Thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs.
This is your response if you choose.
Thank you. So I've gotten so many Eric Adams contracts canceled, we can't keep track. He tried to put a $432 million no-bid crony contract, and we audited it, and we got it canceled. We have done it time and time again. Andrew knows a lot about corruption. That's part of the experience he had. He created a corruption commission and then killed it as soon as it got too close to him. But his senior aides had to resign in corruption disgrace. And let's be clear, he has experience, but leadership is not inviting 25-year-old young women into your office, as he admitted he did, and then asking them about their intimate life and whether they would date older men. I lead by building the best teams, not through sexual harassment, corruption, and disgrace.
You know, somehow that hurts so much more coming from this man. This man whose like entire political like existence in these debates has been, well, I know I'm not the flashiest or the most book smart, but I will do the best job. You know, like I like that he's like very straight-laced and down to earth, and still came out with the steel chair against Cuomo. Like, I can't believe you would try and sexually harass all of those women. I don't believe in building teams that way. And neither should anyone else. Like, just absolutely a 10 out of 10 line of attack there.
Mr. Cuomo.
Mr. Mamdani's right.
Also, Brad Lander's a good comptroller, guys. Like, you should keep that man in mind, Brad Lander, because I do think he's going to continue on and become pretty important in New York State politics. Just keep him in mind. He's been doing a great job as comptroller.
He's never done anything, period. This is a man.
He did. He mispronounced it again.
I may be your number 2,
Holy
but I'm
shit.
Still not as big of a piece of shit as Cuomo.
Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. I need to hear that again.
Mr. Cuomo.
Mr. Mamdani's right. He's never done anything.
Is he saying Mamdani like with an M instead of an N? Mamdami, mommy. Like what is he doing here? Mamdami, like that's what I'm hearing too. I'm also hearing Mandami, which I don't know.
Period. This is a man who
Mamdani. Just say the name right, Mamdani.
This is a man who has done nothing. He's accomplished nothing. 3 bills are all he passed. He has the worst attendance record in the New York State Assembly. He has never held a real job. He has 0 accomplishments.
I want to be.
He's never held. He got almost $500 billion for cabbies in New York City. What are you talking about? Oh, he's done nothing. Fuck you, old man.
Now he thinks he's going to be ready to be mayor of the city of New York.
Jazor, thank you very much for the 3 tier 1 subs. I very, very much appreciate that. What jobs has Cuomo held? Trust fund baby. That's obviously the most important one. Trust fund baby and coattail rider. You know, and a lot of people say, hey, it's easy to ride coattails, okay? But like, that's a real skill. It takes skill to ride coattails. Sometimes you might get bucked off. Also, Van Briggs, oh, mommy. That's for you.
It is laughable. It is laughable, and it is dangerous.
Okay. I want
really
Mr.
quick, and then we're
Cuomo
gonna
to look
move on.
out into the crowd and look at Richard Chow, who lost his brother to suicide because of the taxi driver debt crisis. I went with Mr. Chow over many, many months organizing to push this very city to finally reckon with its complicity in that, and we won $450 million in debt relief. And I want you to look at him and tell him that that's nothing.
Okay, let's
You passed
let's move to
$3 billion.
we'll move to Mr. Stringer. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Can I just cut right to chase and tell what's really going on here? So, truth be told, experience matters. And Andrew Cuomo has experience. I know that. He does.
Please use this opportunity to like just twist the knife. Please, I'm begging. I want nothing more than for this man to start talking about how Andrew Cuomo's experiences with sexually harassing teenagers. I really want that. I want the follow-up here. I need it.
But vision matters.
Damn it. Awooga.
Said it right?
Mamdani, almost there.
Okay, I'm getting there.
Almost there.
But
how are you fucking up his name? It's not hard. It's not a difficult name. Like this would be like if somebody kept fucking up the name McCormick or something. Like it's not a hard name.
you have the vision, and you have articulated it during the campaign. The problem is we need somebody who can do both. And my experience and my vision, when you combine it...
It's 2032, the Donald fired the nukes and China replied. On the East Coast, a new republic rises from the ashes. The New York Republic led by a bold, brave leader, President Lander Salutees.
Salutes to President Lander. Honestly, we need that'd be a fun premise. I like it.
Is the third lane to win this race, and that's what we have to do.
Very good.
Oh, good. A third way. You know, we just need to find a third way for Democrats. You know, gee whiz, where have we heard that before? I feel like we've been talking about this abundance liberalism, this third way shit for like months now. And like it really does manifest everywhere, you know? Like we talked about, I think Gavin Newsom, right after like a third way retreat, came out and just started parroting talking points from this third way, like political reorientation retreat. And he tried to like mainstream that with his podcast. You've got the Ezra Kleins and abundance liberalism now out there. You know, it's kind of this alliance of corporate interests trying to vie for the future of the Democratic Party. And it's on full display here, even in the New York City mayoral race.
Very good. We cannot have a mayoralty on training wheels, but we also have to have a mayor who's willing to go to town hall meetings, to meet with the voters where they are. And that hasn't happened with the experienced candidate. Now, one last thing. Every job I've had, state legislator, I introduced rules of reform in the assembly and got it passed. As Manhattan Borough president, I actually built affordable housing. I didn't do 1 or 2 rezonings. I did that as my life's work and made a difference. As controller, I built the best controller's office that Brad Lander takes credit for, and I'm proud of that.
Okay, fair enough. I want to bring Ms. Adams into the conversation. Ms. Adams, your private sector experience involved finding and training corporate leaders. Government, however, involves working with people who are independently elected, maybe politically connected, who cannot be bypassed, cannot be fired. How do you avoid falling into the trap of catering to vested interests at the expense, possibly, of the public interest?
Well, in the words of Scott Stringer, let's just cut to the chase. As the only candidate currently doing this work, that everyone is aspiring to do as co-leader in city government and city hall already, as one that has walked up those steps of city hall for almost 10 years, as the one that is leading one of the largest legislative bodies in the entire country, as one that has seen 120,000 units of affordable housing coming up in the city, as one who has championed the largest victory for affordable housing in a generation, as one that is already doing this work, as one that has taken private skills from the private sector in management. I have trained people that will
like, see, this is the thing, right? Like, this lady projects confidence and competence, which is good, but ultimately this whole fusion of public-private interest, it's a non-starter. You know, like, I'm sorry, we don't want to like funnel more money into private industry. We need to funnel money into the hands of working class people. That's what we need. We need people to have money so that they can go out and live their lives. You know? Girl got the Silmarils on. Yeah.
Will make more money than I will ever make in a lifetime. And bringing those skills with me into the public sector, into the New York City Council, now leading a body of 50 council members as the one with the experience ready to go to work tomorrow, because where I work is where everyone else on this stage aspires to work, in City Hall in Adrian Adams, New York.
Okay. I have a question for you, Mr. Tilson.
You know, unlike Andrew Cuomo, I can actually see why someone would like her, though. Like, I can actually, like, look at her and, like, hear her and understand why someone would vote for her. Unlike Andrew Cuomo, where I'm just like, dude is, like, upfront with being a piece of shit. You know, like it's kind of crazy.
Related to this discussion, you have frequently said on the campaign trail that, quote, career politicians have caused many of the city's problems or made them worse. You said tonight, in fact, that this is no time for amateur hour. Explain why a lack of experience running a city agency would make you a better manager than some of your rivals here.
I actually view not being a politician as a feature, not a bug. It is possible to hire people into administration, of course, who have the experience of running a big bureaucracy. I would point to Mike Bloomberg as my inspiration when I decided to run for mayor. He had never held elected office before. I think he was one of our greatest mayors. He steered us through the global financial crisis. And I believe that having someone like him, who I saw was independent of all the special interests, who in a low turnout off-season primary like what we're having right now, only 5% of New Yorkers of our total population is probably going to be enough to win the primary, and effectively, and certainly last time was enough to win the mayoralty. So I think we need a mayor who is independent of that inherently corrupting system, who doesn't need the job, who isn't angling for higher office, and who brings a business background, which I think is more relevant to managing one of the world's largest bureaucracies.
Okay. Thank you, candidates.
When New Yorkers are asked their top concerns, one of the biggest issues is always affordability, particularly the high cost of housing. Millions of New Yorkers in rent-stabilized apartments are currently awaiting a final ruling from the Rent Guidelines Board about how much they could pay more each month in rent. But first, we'll get to a crucial question about the production of housing. We want you, the candidates, to address New Yorkers with your top proposal to ease the housing crunch.
Hey Jack. Hope you'll be heading out to the No Kings protest Saturday. Quick protest tip for anyone thinking of heading out: don't fucking sit down during a protest. Been seeing some misinfo out there. Stay safe.
Also, Julie the Ghost, thank you for the $20 super chat. And everyone should go show up to the No Kings protest on Saturday. Please, let me pull that up. NoKings.org. Excellent time for us to just throw this up on screen. Folks, head on over to NoKings.org and you can find a protest in your neck of the woods. You can join one. Each one of these blue dots is its own protest. And you know what? It's really important. It is the next big day of mobilization across the country against Donald Trump and this administration. Y'all got to do this, okay? Yeah, I'll also, obviously, don't sit down in a gigantic crowd, because if you sit down in a crowd and suddenly something goes boom, or people start being shepherded or rushed on by police or, agents, whatever, you don't want to be crushed to death. So don't sit down, keep standing up. You might be tired. Don't get crushed. Okay. Don't get trampled. Also, Julie the Ghost, again, thank you for the $20 super chat. Really appreciate it. Advice for wheelchairs: probably don't go to the thickest part of the protest. Go, stay on the fringes in a place where you can easily continue to maneuver, and you aren't going to be boxed in by police or, trampled by the crowd.
And I'll start with you, Mr. Myrie. We know you've been vocal about a plan to build and preserve 1 million units of housing. You mentioned it earlier. Is that a realistic possibility given the current dynamics in the city?
Let me tell you what's real, Katie. People are leaving the city because they can't afford to stay here. They can't afford the rent, can't afford to own a home. Like me and my wife, who were looking to put down roots in the same neighborhood we grew up in, people are struggling. And we've had leaders of the past that have put their solutions forward, and things have only gotten worse. So yes, 1 million homes over the next 10 years, because we can't keep nibbling around the edges. That is the only way we're actually going to bring down the cost of housing. And listen, is it going to be challenging? Of course it's going to be challenging. But anything worth anything is going to be hard to do. We built the Empire State Building in 13 months, and we did it 100 years ago. Come on already. Of course we can do 1 million homes. I want to change our public land to be affordable housing. I want to convert our industrial areas to residential. We have commercial real estate space that is laying vacant that can be converted as well. We have opportunities to revitalize NYCHA. We got to be bold in this moment, but we need the leadership and the courage to get it done, and that's what I'm going to do.
Thank you. Mr. Stringer, your housing plan is to model a highly successful plan from the 1950s. You call it Mitchell-Lama 2.0. It sounds ideal, but how would you pay for this expansive plan?
Okay, this is where we just got to have an honest conversation. I get 1 million. I could easily say we could do 2.5 million, given my experience. It's all, put that aside for a second. People need affordable housing now. They need low-income housing now. The way we do it is we take the 1,000 vacant lots I audited as controller, and we give that land back to the people, to not-for-profits, to limited profit developers. We don't ask the luxury developers to build the low-end and affordable housing we need. We get a generation of people to come in and build the tens of thousands.
Ravenwood 10101, thank you for subscribing. Also, any tips for going to a protest if you're disabled and literally can't walk/stand for long periods? Plan around your abilities. If you can't walk and stand for long periods, then make a plan for attending the protest that does not rely on you being able to walk or stand for long periods. If you need to sit down, again, stay towards the outskirts of the protest. Where like the entire reason one would say to you, don't sit down if you're going to a protest. It's if you're in the midst of the thick of it. If you are in the thick of the protest, you fucked up. If you can't walk or stand for long periods, you got to be able to plan around your abilities and act accordingly.
Thousands of units of housing. See, it's not just about building housing. The second question, or the question that I care passionately about, is who are we building housing for?
Oh, that's a great plan, Sweet Blasphemy. I'm bringing a small folding chair and finding a spot on the side, and we'll have 2 helpers with me. Excellent. Great job.
We got to build more housing, 2, 3-bedroom apartments for families so that after the second kid, they don't leave, they stay here. We need to do what we did with Mitchell-Lama housing, a housing stock that is the best practice in the world. We got to build more of that housing, integrated housing, because the people who moved into those buildings, you know what they did? They didn't just exist in those apartments. They built communities, schools, and daycare centers. And this is a promise I can keep while I'm alive, while I'm mayor, and we'll see what happens going forward. But let's do that immediately on day 1 when I'm mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Lander, as mayor, you declare a housing emergency which could help you build 500,000 homes, including on city-owned golf courses. How do you get the citywide support for this plan?
So the New York Times opinion panel today said I was the best choice for mayor because I combine clear and bold plans and a real track record of delivering. That is especially true on housing. In the neighborhood around the Gowanus Canal, when I was council member, I organized the community to support redevelopment. More housing, more affordable housing is going up there than anywhere else in the city, and the community's supporting it because it's coming with open space and affordable art studios, as well as 3,000 genuinely affordable homes. We're even fixing up the NYCHA units nearby. As controller, I saved the 35,000 rent-stabilized units that were put at risk when Signature Bank failed by investing to buy the mortgages on them. I know how to do this. I have a detailed plan for getting 500,000 units built. That's around the Interborough Express, where we've got new opportunities for transit-oriented development. And we can build great new neighborhoods on 4 of the city's 12 golf courses because people will be excited about courtyards for families, about daycare centers, about new schools and libraries, places they could own in neighborhoods they will love.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cuomo, you were HUD secretary, you were governor for more than a decade, you managed a nonprofit housing organization. What would you say to voters who wonder if all that experience might end up being, in the end, the wrong experience, since after decades of work, we've ended up in a housing emergency here in the city?
Yeah, I would say, Errol, I would say look at the results, right? Everyone has a plan. I have a plan. I have a plan. Everyone has a plan. They had a plan to build LaGuardia Rail.
You know, I wonder what Andrew Cuomo's plan is, because the entire time he's been running for office, I have seen exactly 0% of any kind of plan articulated other than, I'm pretty good at it. And like the shat out remains of like studies from ChatGPT that he called a plan. You know, like it's not like he had an AI draft up his plan because he just doesn't give a shit.
Airport. Nobody did it until I did it. They had a plan to build a new Moynihan train station, but nobody could do it until I did it. They had a plan to finish.
I hope someone calls him out for putting out an AI-based plan for housing.
The Second Avenue subway, but nobody could do it until I could do it. Now we have plans to build affordable housing, and we do need hundreds of thousands of units of affordable housing, there's no doubt, but we're going to need a different model. The city HPD does not work to create this volume. The state housing program does not work to create this volume. We're going to have to accelerate the ULERP program, and then we're going to have to open every option available. NYCHA units, office to residential conversion, every city-owned piece of property we have to look at, air rights, how do we maximize it? We are going to have a full-on assault to build affordable housing. And yes, it's one thing to have a plan. It's another thing to have the ability to do it. And that's where New York City has fallen down time and time again, not the managerial ability to complete a plan.
Ms. Adams, you mentioned the recent City of Yes rezoning that you were instrumental in helping to pass. It's supposed to create tens of thousands of units of housing, but the experience of past rezonings, like the one in downtown Brooklyn, suggests that it can take as long as 10 years or longer for rezonings to result in actual construction. If you're elected mayor, what would be your plan to get units built more quickly than that?
We're going to build it faster, and just to let Mr. Cuomo know, I've got a plan. It's already in the works. It is called the City of Yes, the City for All, something that I have already ushered in. So the work is already being done. We're hearing a lot of plans and policies, but this is something I'm already doing this work. We have already begun the works for the City for All, and in that proposal, it is the most aggressive rezoning proposal in a generation for this city, to build upwards of 82,000 affordable units for New Yorkers. We want to keep people here. I want my children to stay here. I'm an everyday New Yorker. I don't want them leaving because New York is not affordable for them. And so I have made sure that there is $5 billion that is put into the City for All proposal. So, Mr. Cuomo, we are going to take care of the HPD vacancies within that $5 billion. We're going to make make sure that communities like mine in Southeast Queens are protected, infrastructure is protected. We're going to make sure that we've got extended and expanded access to City FEPS vouchers. We're going to make sure that there are repairs available for NYCHA residents and Mitchell-Lama residents. And we're going to make sure that homeowners also have access to funding to make sure that the homeowners have repairs. We won't have to look at foreclosure in the volume, and we don't have to look at deed theft in the volume. I'm already doing the work. I'm already there.
Thank you.
And still on housing, and to bring the last two of you into it, Mr. Tilson, you said in the last debate that your housing construction plan is the opposite of Mr. Mamdani's. More private sector, less public. Can you elaborate on that in your 60 seconds, and then we'll hear Mr. Mamdani argue for his approach?
Sure. If I were to summarize my plan in 4 words, it'd be unleash the private sector.
Hey, Sawyer Lockwood.
That
Hope
is
you feel better
the
soon.
only way to rapidly build anything like the scale that we're talking about. I said it's the opposite of his plan because his plan is to spend $100 billion city dollars to build affordable housing. So my plan, I don't think this should...
You know, one thing that I feel like gets lost in the entire conversation about affordable housing is that once you build it, it's built. You can just use it forever. It's a one-time investment with like minuscule maintenance costs for something that you will be able to use forever, indefinitely. You know, like you don't have to keep spending that money. You built it once, you're done.
It'd take 10 years if you truly do it, and it's not just zoning regs. It's all the whole bureaucracy going through the city government agencies. It's going through the whole ULERT process. This can be done. Austin, Texas is a good example. Their rents went up 25% in the year 2021. The city leaped into action, quickly changed its zoning rules. They increased supply by 15% in 3 years, and rents dropped by 20%. I don't just want to stabilize rent. I think we can drop rents in this city. That's the objective. But right now, it's...
Hey, Guy, if you freeze the rent and then you build more units and then those units come online and suddenly there's a glut of new housing in an area, what do you think that does to rents?
Whoopsie.
That's right, they go down.
It's outrageous that businesses and real estate developers have to hire expediters to deal with the city bureaucracy. So it's a much bigger problem, and the mayor controls most or all of this.
Thank you, Mr. Mamdani.
I met a grandmother in a senior center in Brownsville, and she came up to me and told me that she'd been on a waiting list for 7 years for senior housing, and that she wasn't sure if she was going to be able to stay in the city any longer. The reason that my campaign is committing to building 200,000 truly affordable homes is because if we don't, we will lose the very New Yorkers who built this city. And we will lose them unless we rapidly scale up the programs we already have. Programs in HPD like SARA, Senior Affordable Rental Apartments, ELA, extremely low-level affordability, the very kind of programs that are built for the New Yorkers who are being priced out of the market. And we do this while also ensuring that it is easier to build even for the private sector. We end the requirement to build parking. We end this piecemeal approach that we've taken, instead having a city-wide comprehensive planning approach. These are the kinds of ways in which we can actually ensure that we start to build more than 4 houses per 1,000 people, that we actually start to get up to Jersey City and Tokyo and build the housing that's necessary in this city.
To finish this round, by a show of hands, I will translate for the radio audience, how many of you would support a rent-stabilized rent freeze this year? Hands up if you do. Okay, the ones whose hands are up are Stringer, Myrie, Mamdani, and Lander. Not up.
State the question, please.
Would you
support your donors who gave you $2.5 million to freeze the rent?
In the rent stabilization system this year, rent freeze this year? Yes or no, Mr. Cuomo?
Would I vote for a rent freeze this year?
Yes.
I'd leave it to the Rent Guidelines Board.
Now, who controls them? The mayor.
We appoint them. The law controls them. You should read it once in a while.
The law didn't control you, did it?
You should read it.
Ms. Adams, your hand was not up, was it? Why not? Oh, it was
There
raised.
has to be a balance there,
So
though,
only
between the
Mr.
homeowners
Tilson's
as well,
hand was not up. Okay, that was a yes or no. And finally, also on a show of hands, on rent freeze or no, a listener to my show asks, would you be open to tying rent increases to landlord rates of return, their profits, rather than simply on 1 year's costs? Yes or no if you're open to tying the increases to profits rather than 1 year's cost increase. Who would say yes to that change or that proposal? I don't see any hands.
Brian, it is part of the formula already.
It's part of the formula.
It is part of the formula. Now, you look at a variety of factors, including net operating income relative to costs, as it should be.
Mr. Lander is right. That is the law. You look at the costs that the landlord is incurring, and that's how you set the rent increase if you do.
But also the profits. The
yes,
profit margins.
Yeah, they do an economic analysis.
Yeah.
That's what the Rent Guidelines Board does.
Katie.
Thank you. And this question is for Mr. Cuomo because it did come up earlier. Many voters are grappling with how to disqualify you or not after the sexual harassment findings that led to your resignation as governor. How do you argue people should consider that factor? And we'll let the other candidates give their take.
Yeah, I would ask them to look at the facts and not the political rhetoric that you hear on this stage.
Oh God! Look at the facts. Don't look at the evidence. Just look at the facts.
I said when the report was issued, it was all political. That's what I said, and I said nothing was going to come of it.
Well, then you resign. Like, if the facts were on your side, my friend, you wouldn't have resigned.
Years later, we've had 5 district attorneys, Democrat, Republicans, upstate, downstate. They've all looked at them. Nothing has come of them whatsoever. There has been 1 civil case that's been resolved. I was dropped from the case. So absolutely nothing has come except political fodder for my opponents and political fodder at the time.
Nothing has come of it except for, a valid avenue of attack for my political opponents.
Do any other candidates want to chime in?
Holy shit, the entire audience laughed. Every single person there knows that he's full of shit. That's great.
You admitted at the time that you called a 25-year-old staffer into your office and asked her questions about whether she'd had older partners and whether she was available, and intimated that you were looking for a partner. Everybody here knows that you sexually harassed women, that you created a toxic work environment. We're here with all these CUNY students, many of them young women. I went to the city college commencement. The valedictorian is going to come work at the Department of Homeless Services. I don't want to have to tell her, don't go work at City Hall because the mayor is a sexual harasser.
Brad Lander has made it his life's mission to make sure Andrew Cuomo never becomes a political figure in New York City, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. All right, this is we got Krillin here charging up his Destructo disc.
Those are just bold-faced lies.
You admitted
and
it at the time.
And it's frightening that you can look at a camera and lie
right now,
that
I'm looking
easily.
At you. You admitted it at the time.
I never said that. I never said that. And by the way, that has been totally disproven by...
Man, the only way this could get better is if Brad Lander brought, receipts. And honestly, someone there should have.
Every court that has looked at it, every
courts don't
legal
disprove
proceeding.
Things. Everyone knows.
Yes, they do, sir. A report was issued. The DAs looked at it. Yeah. They all disagree with you. I was dropped from the case. So those are the facts.
The Biden Justice Department and the Attorney General of the state of New York, and again, it was reported that you admitted at the time that it was a mistake to call that 25-year-old into your office. Folks can check the record.
And the Attorney
folks
General
know if he worked for you would fire him.
Hang on. Attorney General's just wrap up. Yeah.
Yo, hell of a Destructo disc he's got there.
The Attorney General's report was determined by a court to be hearsay and not a finding at all. I understand Mr. Lander is just a pause.
The women? Mr. Lander accused you of sexual harassment. That's what you're calling hearsay.
the district attorneys looked at all those complaints, and not a single case
we're going in
was
circles. We're going to move on.
Better than the facts.
Obvious that this is disqualifying.
Candidates?
The man resigned. Should be obvious. The problem is we do not get to address the issues that New Yorkers care about.
Yeah, that's
because
just what we're going to do. That's just what we're going to do. Just hang on. We are done with this topic. We're going to move on to the next one, candidates. Let's talk about quality of life, concerns about disorder and public safety. The number of complaints about disorderly conduct in New York City have nearly tripled compared to the pre-pandemic year of 2018. Arrests for disorderly conduct have risen significantly, but New Yorkers still say they are less satisfied about their quality of life.
Hey, look, it's not shade to call Brad Lander the Krillin of this group, okay? We've got the obvious front runner, Zoran Mamdani, Goku by a mile. And then we've got Brad Lander as Krillin, and you know what? It's not shade. Krillin's the strongest human being on the planet. So like no shade to Krillin, okay? But he's no Goku. And then we've got Glasses Guy who's just Yamchaing around.
Than in the past. So we're going to start with you, Mr. Lander. Do you want the NYPD to address quality of life violations, or is there some other way to do it? And how would you address concerns about quality of life without violating constitutional rights or opening the door to accusations of—
Man, I'm really getting excited that people in chat are already saying, "Have we already seen the other moment?" And I'm excited to see what the hell you guys mean by that. I know we're like a half an hour behind the actual live stream
of illegal profiling.
As mayor, my #1 priority will be to end—
Cuomo is Raditz. Oh God. I compared him to Frieza, but all right.
Street homelessness for people with serious mental illness. When I talk to people about what's influencing their quality of life, what would they like changed? They would like to be able to get—
Any shade on crinolines, though?
I don't know enough about Dragon Ball. Is that a thing? Is that a thing in Dragon Ball? Also, Salmon Moose, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs.
How can we all have died at the same time? A salmon moose.
Thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. It's a ask your girlfriend. Okay, now I know it's a textile.
On the subway and feel safer. Last week I talked about a friend whose middle school student was pushed to the ground by a mentally ill homeless person. But we don't have to be a city where a couple thousand of our mentally ill neighbors sleep on subway platforms and the sidewalks and stoops of our buildings. And yes, of course, NYPD have a role to play in keeping neighborhoods safe.
Just because your conduct was determined to be non-actionable doesn't mean it didn't happen. Most acts of sexual misconduct like that. That's why Donald Trump is a sexual abuser rather than a rapist.
Oh, 100%. Oblivious, 100%. Yeah, I mean, like, these are crimes that can be really difficult to prove as crimes. They're usually a bit easier to prove as civil cases, and like the fact that there wasn't more evidence is
clearly a plant.
Tilson is a Cyberman. I like it. Thank you very, very much for that comparison, Sake Tanuki. Thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. Krillin got the baddie, Android 18, so who really won in Dragon Ball? Look, all I'm saying, guys, is Brad Lander's great. I think Krillin's easily like the second best of the Z Force, the Z Fighters. Okay, like I'm not throwing a ton of shade at him.
Apologies for the distraction, but Israel just sent strikes into Tehran. War with Iran tonight, Queen?
You know, we'll have to see. I have been keeping an eye on it as we've been covering this. We'll talk about it after we finish our coverage of this part.
Guns off the street, but no amount of policing is going to connect a homeless mentally ill person to the housing and services that they actually need. The plan that will is called Housing First. It's working in Houston and Denver and Salt Lake City. We used it here to end street homelessness for veterans, and I will use it to end street homelessness for people with serious mental illness, and that'll be a city with a dramatically better quality of life for everyone.
Okay. Mr. Stringer.
Let me try to answer your direct question, which is the issue of quality of life. And to me, as someone who has spent his entire life here, who's raising kids here, People do not want to live with trash. They don't want to live with broken sidewalks. They don't want a 311 system that can't resolve the basic day-to-day issues that New Yorkers face. We've gotten away from that kind of work. You know, swagger to me is different than swagger at City Hall today. Swagger means I feel satisfied when we help somebody get the services we need.
I love that definition of swagger. Swagger means when we help people get the services they need. I love that.
I'm going to do it specifically.
I can tell he's a real man by his swagger. You mean the way he walks? No, the way he helps people get the services he needs.
We got to have a deputy mayor for quality of life and institute what I call quality stat, meaning there's a lot of agencies apart from the police that actually are responsible for the day-to-day running of the city and resolving complaints and issues. We need to measure that. We need to look at the data at 311. We need to do the follow-ups. I'm going to be the mayor in the Ed Koch mode that comes to town hall meetings and communities, just like Ed did as controller, roll my sleeves up, go in front of hundreds of people and say, let me have it. What do you want? What's going on? And I will resolve the complaint in 24 hours. That's the kind of mayor that we need in this city to keep people here and to make sure that we become the beacon of the greatest city in the world.
Okay. Mr. Mamdani.
You know, when I speak to New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs, what I hear time and time again are these very kinds of complaints. Complaints around the cleanliness of our streets, complaints around whether the parks that they love can actually be maintained. And so many of them come back to a mayoral administration that has underfunded city agencies time and time again, literally requesting to take garbage cans off of sidewalks. That's what we have had for the last 4 years. I'm proud to have been endorsed by DC 37, the single largest labor union representing municipal workers in this city. The people who run this city trust me to lead this city. And what I will do is fully fund each one of those agencies to ensure that we are not just providing public service, we're providing public excellence so that each and every New Yorker is finally receiving the quality of life that they deserve living in this city.
Okay. And so, Mr. Myrie, really in a lot of ways what I'm getting at is that the city government and a lot of voters...
I mean, exactly winners and losers. Some people swagger down the services catwalk, others sashay on their way to provide services, and some straight up pose.
Frankly, will reflexively reach for the NYPD as the best tool to handle what they perceive as disorder, which some people say is kind of a stepping stone towards crime, or in some ways a precursor to it. What's your take on that, and how would you handle it?
Yeah, let me first say, Scott, you got a little bit of swagger. You got some sneakers on today, so I don't want you to discount yourself. Yeah, all right, very good.
Nice try. You tried.
So let me say this. Look, I walk the streets, I take the subways just like you do. And part of the reason that people are frustrated with politics is because you walk the streets, you take the subways, and then you listen to folks on this stage, and it's completely divorced from your reality. Here's what I want to do. I think we need police and clinician teams in our subways and our streets 24/7 to get people on a path to real recovery. New Yorkers are compassionate people, but we want to ensure that people are actually getting that help. So
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of these people do the I'm just like you, I go and buy my own groceries or something like that. But like the thing is, the best way to communicate that is by showing and not telling. Show people you're an actual human being. Don't just tell them I'm just like you. You like show them by behaving like a normal human being would. You know, Zoran Mamdani is extraordinarily good at this.
Stabilization centers in every borough so that we can deliver that.
Yeah, police on the subway 24/7. No, that's only going to increase conflict.
Public safety requires us to do two things. We understand that police officers are necessary, but we also have to invest in the things we know prevent crime and disorder in the first place. That's why I want 50,000 more summer youth jobs so that it is universal. We have no young person on a waiting list. Stop telling our kids what not to do without giving them something.
Now, I'm unfamiliar with the youth working list. I'm unfamiliar with that program in New York City. Just checking if with the folks who live in NYC, did he just advocate to like put children to work, or is he talking about youth as in like, I don't know, you're like 20 years old, like you're an adult youth? Just checking. I really don't want to see more people advocating to put children to work. And unfortunately, we live in a time where I do have to check that because more and more adults want children to go back to work. I eat with my cloaca just like you. Jesus Christ. Oh, Harold, thank you very much for the link.
I am a fellow pure humanoid. I put on my denim second skin one appendage and then the other.
Oh, Jesus. Paladin, thank you for the $10 dono. Found the program. Work, Learn, and Grow offers NYC youth between the ages of 16 and 20 a paid 22-week-long opportunity to strengthen their work readiness skills, explore post-secondary education and careers, and potentially earn college credit. I mean, that sounds okay, I guess. Like, I still would prefer like the kind of support structure that would lead 16-year-olds to not need to do work, but all right, it's not like the worst thing, I guess.
Thing to do. I want universal after school as well, so that we can have a safe place to be and have our families have a place where their children can stay.
Okay, Mr. Tilson.
Yes, to answer your question directly about enforcing more quality of life issues. For example, I ride my bike almost every day in the city. The e-bikes are fast and dangerous, and we're riding up on the sidewalks, blowing through red lights, and cops started enforcing it, and I can tell you, being out there every day, they're now obeying the law. That is the kind of thing that contributes to the feeling of lack of safety. I will say that what I would not do is demonize the police by calling them wicked and corrupt, by threatening to defund and dismantle them, as Zoran has done. And we are at a 34-year low in the number of police officers. There's only one candidate on this stage, him, who has not said that he would try and build that number back up. So I think his Department of Community Safety, which...
Again, this guy is like he's Andrew Cuomo's attack dog in this entire race.
She talks about is just backdoor code word for continue to defund the police. They are demoralized, they are understaffed, and we have created a revolving door where an officer at the Midtown North Precinct, very close to here, actually told me she is still filling out the paperwork for most of her arrests, and the criminal is back out onto the street before she's finished.
Did you want to respond?
I want to say it very clearly, because both Mr. Tilson and Andrew Cuomo's Republican billionaire donors have been lying about me on our television screens and right now. I will not defund the police. I will work with the police because I believe the police have a critical role to play in creating public service, public safety. And fundamentally, when I put together our proposal for the Department of Community Safety, it was built upon the many conversations I had with rank and file officers who had told me that they signed up to join the department to take on serious crimes. And yet what they were being asked to do is play the roles of mental health professionals and social workers. And that is part of the reason why 65% of crimes in the first quarter of this year are still not solved. We need to ensure police can focus on those crimes, and we have mental health professionals and social workers to address and tackle and resolve the mental health crisis and homelessness.
Okay. It's such a good rejoinder. Like he's figured out how to respond to that question and those accusations in a way that makes him look strong and more aware of what's going on the ground than his out of touch opponents. It's really, really good.
I just want to clarify, Whitney, did you not talk about my police retention plan, or you didn't?
Oh, come on, Scott. Ms. Adams, I want to bring you in the conversation because you were at City Hall when the funding question came up that has been interpreted by some as defund the police. What was happening then?
Derf Parade Mamdani should win.
In that particular session with that particular proposal, and if you're elected, what would you do about this question of where and when and if the police get involved in quality of life policing?
Thank you for asking the clarifying question, Errol, very much. The FY
Andrew
2021
Cuomo for human
budget
leader.
season.
See me ride the metal travel tube to acquire sustenance. Watch facial pleasure as I consume salted pig.
Hell yeah. I love facial pleasure. Thank you for the $10 dono, Paladin. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting the show.
And was a very, very tough season for the New York City Council and quite frankly for the mayoral administration as well. We were still masked up in the pandemic, and New York City was very, very underfunded as a city. We were looking towards going in the hole, if you will. So several city agencies had to take a haircut. The NYPD was one of those agencies, as were many, many city agencies. Heck, the New York City Council, we had to take a haircut. So there was funding reallocation that happened across the board for New York City because of the pandemic. So, I mean, services were cut.
You guys are having too much fun with what I said.
Many folks out there realized that some of park services were cut and other services were cut as well, unfortunately. So that was the climate that we were in, quite frankly, during the pandemic season. As mayor, though, I know that New York City is fiscally found. Our issue right now is going to be Trump-proofing the New York City, Trump-proofing New York City, which I am doing right now as one who is negotiating the 4th New York City budget,
What's up,
something
CF?
that no one else on this stage can say. And we've already put aside in reserves through my leadership on the council $1.9 billion to begin to protect the people of the city of New York from Donald Trump's harsh cuts. We want the administration to not match us, go above us. We're going to need to make sure that our resources are protected, that our nonprofits are protected, that our children, our seniors, our health care is protected. And as leader of the city council, I've already made a start in...
Why was a Democrat defending child labor? Because it's a program designed for kids who are 16 to 20. So young people kind of... I believe in New York State, you can get like a part-time job at like 16, but if you're under 18, it has to like adhere to like certain standards. So like, you know, not too late on school nights, stuff like that. There are limits on what kind of jobs you can do, etc. And this is for the program is for building up college credit to help pay for college, and to also get paid in the process. So my understanding is that it is one of those kinds of things that the state views as equating to essentially like an extracurricular activity that can help you get into college.
Doing just that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Cuomo.
Yeah, if we wonder why the people watching this are frustrated, is because of the disconnect of what they're hearing. They are afraid on the streets. They feel unsafe. You can quote statistics all day long.
Hey, dirtbag.
They get afraid walking into the subway. They get afraid walking down the street when they see a mentally ill homeless person. We did defund the police. We did. We cut $1 billion from the police.
Is that true? Is that true? Let's see. Okay, like, I don't think that that's true. I don't think they cut almost $1 billion. There's like a story here from like 2011 that he cut nearly $50 million out of the state's $707 million police budget. But like, don't think that like he was cutting police budgets by a significant amount. And honestly, when it trickles down into the local levels, like the cuts practically didn't exist.
People on this stage said, defund the police. That was the chant. And $1 billion was taken from the police department. Mr. Mamdani says he would dismantle the police. That's his expression. Mr. Lander said, I'll admit, progressives like me were slow to recognize the problems of crime and quality of life and mopeds.
See, it's not so difficult to take responsibility, is it?
That's what he said, that they were slow to realize the crime that people were living with. We have to get back to safety. I would add 5,000 police officers. Yes, we need mental health professionals who also help work with the mentally ill, and they're two totally separate things. But this city has to be safe. Opportunity for youth is part of it. But if people don't feel safe, Errol, they're not going to stay. End of story.
Okay, real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I think New Yorkers want accountability. They want accountability when people commit crimes. They want accountability when officers use excessive force. They want accountability when top brass violate their office, and they want accountability from elected officials. So yes, I said we were slow to reckon with rising disorder. Here's how I'm going to actually deliver it. You've never taken responsibility for one single thing you've done wrong in your entire life. Not one single thing. You should try it sometime.
Okay, Ms. Adams, real quick.
Yeah, I just want to clear up the whole defund mystery here that keeps on being used as far as the New York City Council and the FY 2021 budget is concerned. Let's just be clear. The budget is negotiated with the mayoral administration. The NYPD is a part of the mayoral administration, and the reallocation of funds was done with the knowledge of the NYPD, not in any far-off land, far, far away. I don't know how long you've been out of it, Mr. Cuomo, but it's been a while. So I just want to make sure that we are clear here tonight.
Get out of here.
Slogans and scare tactics aren't going to make
People
any...
Trek Captain's log. I had Ensign Cuomo confined to the brig for the time being. He asked if I was in a collective with anyone and would I join a collective with an older man. He may be bored.
Trains and bullshit. Thank you for the $5 dono. I do enjoy the subgenre of text-to-speech comments of Captain's log.
Body in New York City safer.
Okay, candidates, thank you. Candidates, we're going to move on to our lightning round. That's where each candidate will answer our questions with a brief response, usually yes or no. I'm going to start with a show of hands one. Despite changes in technology, do you still have a Metro card in your wallet? Show of hands. Mr. Myrie, Mr. Cuomo, Ms. Adams still have the Metro card. God bless you. Let's go name one department that you would make cuts to. We'll go right down the line. Mr. Tilson. Lightning.
There's so many to choose from.
Just one.
I think there's a lot of fat to cut in the DOE budget,
I
but there
cut
are areas I
everything.
would invest more in.
DOE means Department of Education, not the Board of Elections. Mr.
I'm sorry. In a time of Doge and Trump to talk about that, to talk about education like that's insane.
Stringer.
As controller, I identified efficiencies in every city agency to make them more run better and efficient. So it's not about cutting or targeting one agency. It's really about doing due diligence in all the agencies.
Mr. Myrie.
Yeah, I think New Yorkers experience city services every day. It's not about who has what. It's about how we're delivering. So I think it's important that we are efficient in that. I think we can shift some funding from the Economic Development Corporation to our city's general fund.
Mr. Mamdani.
I think we have to end our city's addiction to consulting and contracts. We're currently paying McKinsey millions of dollars to design a trash can. We don't have to do that.
Mr. Lander.
Last year,
That's a great answer. We don't need to redesign trash cans.
we paid out $2 billion in claims against the city. I'll put them on the books of city agencies so they have an incentive to reduce them. They can keep half the savings. It's hundreds of millions of dollars we can save.
Mr. Cuomo.
City government hasn't been properly managed in 12 years. It needs an overhaul from top to bottom. That's what I think has to be done.
Where'd you start? Where would you start?
I think if housing is a top priority, I would start with HPD because that's one of the first jobs we have to start.
Okay. Ms. Adams.
You know, I'm still negotiating the city budget, the only one on the stage that's doing this thing. So let's just be real about it. The mayor actually implemented pegs that took away headcount for many, many city agencies.
The mayor is in favor of pegging? Based.
So I don't think that we're in the space right now to cut anything. We do need to reform and revamp city agencies. So what we need to do is take a look at, as was said, contracts. We've got a lot of bloated contracts out there, primarily because of the cronyism under Eric Adams.
In this lightning round, just 3 yes or no questions from me. Is it logistically possible, Ms. Adams first, to close Rikers by 2027? Yes or no?
No.
Mr. Cuomo?
No, the law is a joke.
Mr. Lander?
Not a joke, but not by 2027 either.
Mr. Mamdani?
No, Eric Adams has made it functionally impossible.
Mr. Myrie?
No, but it needs to close.
Mr. Stringer?
No.
And Mr. Tilson?
No, not by 2032 either.
We'll go the other order on yes or no. Do you support an expansion of red light cameras, Mr. Tilson?
Absolutely.
Mr. Stringer?
Yes.
Absolutely, and I voted for it in Albany.
Thank you, Mr. Myrie. Mr. Mamdani?
Yes, and unlike Andrew Cuomo, I know you can't turn right on red in New York City.
Hey!
Lander?
Yes, and with real accountability for drivers who do it.
Mr. Cuomo?
Yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Adams? And one more. We'll start in the middle with Mr. Mamdani. Have you ever voted for a Republican?
No.
Mr. Myrie?
I have not, but I voted for a Democrat that ended up caucusing with the Republicans. That's why I ran for state senate in the 2018.
Mr. Stringer? Ever voted for a Republican, Mr. Stringer?
Never in my life.
Mr. Tilson?
Sure, Bloomberg.
Ms. Adams?
No.
Mr. Cuomo? No. And Mr. Lander? No.
This first question, it's a two-parter. I'll start with you, Mr. Tilson. What is your favorite park or playground in the city, and would you, as mayor, commit to at least 1% of the city budgets going to the Parks Department?
Yes, I raised 3 daughters in the city. They're now in their 20s. Shout out to my youngest, graduating from college in 2 days, actually. And
the only claps
ran the
he's
Daddy
gotten.
Olympics in Central Park every day. We circled the park and had a number of favorite playgrounds. I'd say the favorite we called playground number 1, which is at 96th and 5th. And I've actually called for permanently making the parks budget 1% of the city budget, so it increases with the city's budget. Their parks are our gems.
Mr. Stringer.
1% for parks, because every kid deserves outdoors, and we have got to make sure we fix all the parks, not just in wealthy communities. But look, my favorite park is where the kids want to play. So if it's on a basketball court, I'm there. If it's Central Park, I'm there. Rockefeller Park, I'm there. I have no decision making it. It's all up to them.
That was a really adorable answer. Like, he's not my guy, but like,
I've been contemplating getting a
seems nice.
fancy futuristic Star Trek toilet, so one can properly address the captain's log.
You gotta spend some of your money on that Hello Tushy. Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 2 tier 1 subs. You could probably, I don't know, I don't remember off the top of my head what the majority report code for the Hello Tushy is, but that would have made my bit complete. Sadly, I only know the one for the CBD farm.
Mr. Myrie.
My favorite park is Prospect Park, and my parents... Let's go, yeah, Prospect Park in the house. My parents are here in the audience with us, and it is where I learned how to ride a bike. It is where they took me throughout my childhood. So I absolutely would commit to 1% to our city's parks. It's a shame that we have not done that already.
Mr. Mamdani.
I would absolutely commit 1% of the city budget to the Parks Department. I'm proud to have done so over the course of this campaign, and I have to say that my favorite park is Astoria Park.
Mr. Lander.
Zelnor Myrie is right on this question. Prospect Park is the best park in New York City, and my kids are here, and they played baseball and learned to ride their bikes, and I was just at the Celebrate Brooklyn concert opening. Yes, we'll do 1%, but we've got to focus it on the parks that need it most. I passed a law that helps us do that, and as mayor, I'll make sure we focus on those parks that have been way too long neglected.
Thank you, Mr. Cuomo.
Yes to the 1%, and I'd also like to see the private sector get involved with conservancies, not just Central Park. It's beautiful, it's Manhattan, but there are other boroughs also, Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx, Staten Island, etc. My favorite park is Cunningham Park in Queens, and 1%, but let's get conservancies set up for all the parks.
Ms. Adams.
We definitely have to get to the 1%. We've been fighting in the council for as long as I've been in the council to get there. My favorite park has to be Baisley Pond Park in Jamaica, Queens, of course. That's my district, my park. But we got to get rid of those Phragmites.
And this is a quick one. It's a 1 or 2 word answer. I'll start with you, Ms. Adams. Which borough have you spent the least amount of time in?
Staten Island.
Mr. Cuomo.
I would say Staten Island.
Mr. Lander?
Staten Island.
Mr. Mamdani? Uh-oh.
The beacon of free transit, Staten Island.
Mr. Myrie?
I'd say Staten Island.
Mr. Stringer?
I've been doing this. I've been everywhere.
So no, all equal?
They are all equal, including Staten Island. Yeah,
Mr. Tilson? It was almost a sweep.
Okay. All right, we are going to take a short break now. When we come back, we'll bring you the cross-examination round, where each candidate will ask one opponent one question. And because this election will require New Yorkers to rank their candidates, we want to take a moment to explain how ranked choice voting works, courtesy of the Campaign Finance Board. The debate will continue in just a few minutes.
Jack is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, dating, plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.